Welcome, everyone, to the continuation of the Fit for Future virtual forum in Earth and Human Systems, organized by IAIA and the Chinese University of Hong Kong. And this is the fourth presentation in the series. It is by Sarif Delangkhan. She's a research fellow at Chulalongkorn University's Energy Research Institute, specializing in solar policy and energy transition. She'll analyze Thailand's power sector challenges, including reliance on natural gas and carbon lock-in, while proposing strategies to expand renewables, enhance grid flexibility, and align energy policies with global decarbonization trends. And as we mentioned before, this is in line with IAIA's recent collaboration with the Global Commons Alliance, who received the Global Clients Award at 2025 in Bologna.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sarif Delangkhan from the Energy Research Institute at Chulalongkorn University, Thailand. Today, I'm presenting a strategic assessment of Thailand power sector transition. It's focused on what I call Thailand natural gas crossroads. In this presentation, we will explore the roles of natural gas in Thailand power sector and the significant challenges and risks we face as we navigate toward a more sustainable energy future. So why the use of natural gas are our concerns? Let's consider the planetary boundaries, the safe operating space for humanity on Earth. Thailand's power sector is heavily reliant on natural gas. While it's often seen as a field which fills its entire life cycle from extraction to use impacts several key planetary boundaries. These include biosphere integrity due to its infrastructure development, its affect freshwater change from power plant cooling needs, and crucially, the climate change due to CO2 emissions. So, why natural gas offers advantages over coal? Its full life cycle poses significant challenges to remain within this safe boundary. This underscores the urgency of strategically assessing its future role in our energy mix. Now let's take a closer look at the natural gas industry landscape in Thailand. Here is the natural gas supply in Thailand. This chart illustrates our natural gas supply from 1986 to 2023. For over 40 years, domestic gas from the Gulf of Thailand has been a cornerstone of our energy security and provided low-cost electricity. However, as you can see, domestic production, the blue line here, is declining due to the resource depletion. As a result, liquefied natural gas or LNG imports, the yellow line, are rising sharply. In 2023, domestic gas accounted for around 57% of our supply, but the share of LNG imports tripled from 10% in 2017 to 31% in 2023. Looking ahead, if there's no new domestic discoveries or extended import contacts, our reliance on LNG is set to increase. Potentially, it could reaching over 50%. So this poses significant challenges for energy security. So let's look at the gas price trend. Historically, our reliance on domestic gas meant stable and low price. But as our LNG import share grew to 31% in 2023, we become exposed to volatile global markets. This chart shows the dramatic price spike in 2022, driven by the event like Russia-Ukraine war and supply disruption. This high LNG price directly led to the higher electricity price in 2022 and created a significant debt burden for EGAT, a state-owned utility primarily responsible for the electricity procurement in Thailand. So this key challenge is the future reliance on LNG means potentially high and volatile electricity costs driven by the factor beyond our control. Now look at our natural gas demand. Where does all this gas go? So from this chart, the power sector is the dominant consumer, accounting for about 62% of demand in 2023. The petrochemical and industrial sector, they use around 18%. So changes in power generation demand will significantly impact the entire gas market. The future challenge is that as we move toward carbon neutrality, renewable energy technologies are expected to replace gas in the power sector. However, decarbonizing industry and petrochemical is currently more complex and costly. So now we will look at the carbon dioxide emissions in Thailand. While natural gas is cleaner than coal, it is still a major source of carbon dioxide emissions. In 2022, natural gas accounted for around 30% of total energy sector carbon dioxide emission, and is primarily from power generation and industry. As we aim for the carbon neutrality, reducing these emissions is crucial. This will likely require a large CCUS or carbon capture utilization and storage capacity, or even for significant carbon sinks. But the uncertainties and costs associated with this technology could drive up energy costs. So this brings us to the central question. What should the roles of natural gas in Thailand over the next 25 years as we move forward for the carbon neutrality? So if we look at Thailand's draft power plant development plan, PDP, the pink dashed line here, the PDP is the Nation Strategic Energy Plan. It suggests a high gas demand pathway. The share of gas in power generation is projected to remain high, around 41% by 2037. Natural gas demand for electricity is expected to be around 2,800 MNS CFD in 2037. So it's roughly the same as today. We even plan to use former power plant sites to develop new gas-fired power plants between 2028 and 2037. As you can see from the graph, the pink dashed line here is significantly higher than other carbon neutral scenarios. So this poses a challenge to meet our climate goal. So natural gas was great for Thailand before. It kept our power and didn't cost much. But using so much of it now is causing some big problems. This problem include we will making less of our own gas, and we have to buy more. So we have to buy more LNG from other countries. And it costs a lot to use technology to make gas cleaner, like from CCUS or hydrogen. So we need to meet and also we have to meet our climate change promise. And we have to ensure our industry stay competitive. And we need a new plan to make sure our energy is secure. So to access this risk, we use energy trilemma framework, which look at the balance between energy security, equity, and environmental sustainability. We need to understand how our natural gas strategy impact each of these crucial aspects, from supply diversity and price to to carbon dioxide emission and investment stability. So let's now dive into the 3 key risks and their potential mitigation strategy. The first risk is carbon lock-in and reliance on LNG import. Our planned gas supply shows significant portions coming from new source and contracted LNG, with LNG import projected to be like 59% by 2037. Expanding gas-fired power plant generation. Gas power plant now risk locking us into carbon-intensive infrastructure and long-term contract for decades. This existing and future contract designed to protect producers, it could become a financial burden and leading us to higher electricity price. And as we've seen, relying heavily on LNG imports exposes us to geopolitical and market volatility. And when we look at the energy trilemma, the risk negatively impact energy security to less diversities and higher import dependency. It also affects our energy equity via potentially higher electricity price, and also it could lead to the standard access. And there will be fewer opportunity for renewables, and also for the environmental sustainability. It undermine this aspect through the continuous CO2 and methane emissions. And also this lead to the hybrid emission factor. So how to mitigate this? We must reduce LNG demand by boosting energy efficiency and accelerating renewables energy. We need to increase the flexibilities of existing gas plant and enhance domestic exploration. And to manage LNG risk, we must diversify suppliers vary contract terms, leverage market insight, and negotiate for favorable, flexible contexts. This potentially to the joint procurement for resource. Now, the second risk. This risk is about the costly and technologically uncertainty abatement technology. Although gas is cleaner than coal, it remains a major carbon dioxide source. Our current plan don't show a significant decline in gas demand and its emission. As shown, CO2 emissions from the power sector are projected to remain substantial. To meet climate targets, this emission require abatement through technologies like hydrogen or CCUS. However, these technologies are currently immature and costly, which could increase electricity price and jeopardize our ability to reach carbon neutrality. And when we look these potential impacts on energy trilemma, the risk depends on this will lead to the carbon lock-in related to the energy security, and it threatens the energy equity with higher electricity price and potential the societal cost for these new technologies, because we're not sure about the technology yet. And it also pose environmental risk due to the potential leakage and there at the very real possibility to not achieve our climate goals. So to mitigate this risk, first and importantly, we need to accelerate the actual or genuine emissions reduction to reduce the need for the costly abatement. We should also pursue CCUS and hydrogen and biogas across the value chain and consider repurposing the gas pipelines. A key step is to build a CCUS enabling environment through a national roadmap, clear regulation and carbon pricing, and international collaboration. We also need to ensure fair allocations of carbon sink capacity, and it should prioritize to hard to abate sectors. And the third risk. This one is about the lower development of renewable. Although there's demands for clean electricity, as we see a strong global and local push for the company to commit for the net zero targets. This will also align with the policy like CBAM, Carbon Border Adjustment Mechanism from Europe. It's driving a significant increase in demand for clean energy. And many Thai companies across various sectors have set ambitious climate goals as shown here. And if renewable deployment lacks, this will impact energy security by creating an insufficient supply for clean electricity and hindering the development of the resilient distributed grid. It also affects the energy equity. This could be potentially lead to the more expensive clean energy. This will affect the industry competitiveness and also create the unequal access for the low income. And also for the environmental sustainability, it limits by hindering decarbonization and our ability to meet climate commitments. To address these risks, we must enable corporate access to clean energy. The government has initiated the measure for support of clean electricity, like direct power purchase agreement and the utility green tariff UTT. But this has to ensure these measures are effective and internationally recognized. We must empower distributed energy resources such as continue rooftop solar programs and promoting smart EV charging and energy storage. And crucially, we must accelerate the addition of new large-scale renewable capacity before 2030. It should pair with the flexible generation and energy storage. So this will end of my presentation. In conclusion, Thailand stands at the critical natural gas crossroads. While gas has served us well in the past, our future energy security, affordability, and sustainability depends on navigating this risk strategically. This means reducing our reliance on LNG import, being cautious about locking in carbon-intensive infrastructure, accelerating renewables, and making smart, timely investment in both in clean technologies and necessary abatement measure. And last but not least, although these risk mitigates suggest to deploy low carbon technologies, we must consider their impacts on planetary boundaries too. And I would like to acknowledge this, the funding and support from our case for Southeast Asia and the International Climate Initiative for our study. And you can find the full report at the link provided here. Thank you for your attention.